But it has been such a dry start to the year, moderate to severe drought across the Carolinas, that dry vegetation. And then yesterday, a front goes through with 30 to 40 mile-an-hour winds. That is the setup for dramatic wildfire spread, which is what we had a day ago.
California and wildfires, two things that seem almost inseparable at this point. Dry conditions, relentless winds, and scorching temperatures turn the state into a firestorm every year. But as these wildfires keep getting worse every year, is there any way to stop them? Let's find out. California's history with wildfires go way back. Some have reshaped fire policies, others have left scars that still linger today. Policies to devastating losses, history has a lot to say about why things are the way they are now. One of California's first major wildfires was the Santiago Canyon Fire of 1889. Spanning 300,000 acres across Orange, San Diego, and Riverside counties, it wiped out crops and thousands of sheep. Thankfully, no human lives were lost, but the damage was staggering. At the time, this was the largest wildfire the state had ever seen. But as history shows, it was just the beginning. And then came the Tunnel Fire, also called the Oakland Hills Firestorm, in 1991. This wasn't just another wildfire, it was a full-blown urban disaster. With over $1.5 billion in damages, it became one of the most expensive wildfires in California's history. Tragically, 25 people lost their lives, 150 were injured, and more than 2,800 homes were reduced to ashes. A 5-year drought, bone-dry vegetation, and the endless Diablo winds turned the hills into a firestorm waiting to happen. Once the flames took off, there was no stopping them. Then came November 2018, bringing the deadliest wildfire in California's history, the infamous Camp Fire. This wasn't just another nightmare, it was destruction on a scale no one was prepared for. Over 150,000 acres burned, more than 18,000 structures were wiped out, and 85 lives were lost. Entire towns like Paradise and Concow were nearly erased from the map. If 2018 was bad, 2020 was an all-out catastrophe. That year, nearly 4 million acres burned, an area the size of Connecticut, making it California's worst wildfire season yet. The August Complex Fire alone consumed over 1 million acres, making it the state's first ever gigafire. Between record-breaking heat waves, endless lightning storms, and years of dry vegetation, it felt like the perfect storm for disaster. Most recently, in January 2025, California was hit yet again. A series of 14 wildfires erupted across Los Angeles and San Diego counties, along with extreme drought, low humidity, and terrifyingly strong Santa Ana winds reaching up to 100 miles per hour. The damage was huge. At least 29 people lost their lives, over 200,000 had to evacuate, and more than 18,000 homes and buildings were destroyed. And the price tag? A jaw-dropping $45 billion in insurance claims, so massive that even giants like Swiss Re and Munich Re felt the heat, taking heavy financial losses. One of the biggest culprits, power lines. When California's infamous winds pick up, aging electrical lines become ticking time bombs. One spark is all it takes to ignite a wildfire. Take the 2018 Camp Fire. It all started with a faulty electrical line and became California's deadliest wildfire. To prevent this, utility companies now cut power during extreme weather. It helps, sure, but facing days without electricity? Definitely not ideal. Now, the wildfires don't just burn landscapes, they burn through billions of dollars and leave lasting scars on the environment. The January 2025 wildfires hit hard, racking up losses between $95 billion and $164 billion, an economic disaster almost as massive as the flames themselves. Insurance companies took a massive hit, with insured losses reaching nearly $75 billion. The financial strain doesn't stop there. Local businesses suffered, with estimated wage losses of $297 million. California's economy took a blow too, as the fires led to a 0.48% drop in the county's GDP, wiping out around $4.6 billion in economic activity. Beyond the money, wildfires have damaged the environment in ways that aren't always visible right away. When millions of acres go up in flames, they send enormous amounts of pollutants into the air. The 2020 wildfires alone released so much smoke and fine particles that air quality levels across California and neighboring states reached hazardous levels. This toxic air doesn't just sting your eyes, it leads to serious health issues, from asthma flare-ups to long-term heart problems. But it's not just humans who suffer. Wildfires destroy entire ecosystems, wiping out forests, killing wildlife, and altering natural habitats for years. Animals that survive are often left with little food or shelter, forcing them to migrate to unfamiliar areas where survival becomes even harder. Some species, already endangered, face the risk of complete extinction as their habitats vanish in the flames. The bigger issue: wildfires are fueling a vicious cycle. Every major fire releases massive amounts of carbon into the atmosphere, contributing to global warming. This in turn makes conditions drier, hotter, and more favorable for future fires. It's each fire setting the stage for even worse ones in the years to come. However, California is constantly evolving its wildfire prevention and mitigation strategies, trying to stay one step ahead of the next disaster. While firefighting efforts are crucial, the real challenge is stopping these fires before they even start. One major shift in recent years has been aggressive forest management. For years, California's forests have been overloaded with dry, flammable vegetation, basically kindling just waiting for a spark. That's why controlled burns, a practice indigenous communities have used for centuries, are now being revived as a wildfire prevention tool. In 2021, California and the U.S. Forest Service announced a joint plan to treat 1 million acres of land annually by thinning forests and setting controlled burns. While this is a step in the right direction, experts argue that the pace of implementation is still too slow to keep up with rapidly worsening fire conditions. Beyond the forests, infrastructure upgrades are also playing a role in wildfire prevention. Aging power lines have been a key cause of wildfires, sparking deadly fires when high winds cause electrical equipment to fail. To tackle this, utility companies like Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E, have started burying power lines underground in high-risk areas. However, at an estimated cost of $3.75 million per mile, this is an expensive and time-consuming process. So in the meantime, many companies rely on public safety power shutoffs, PSPS, where electricity is cut off during extreme fire weather conditions. While this reduces the risk of power line-related fires, it also leaves thousands of people without electricity, sometimes for days. AI is now California's high-tech firefighter. Satellite scans, real-time data, and wildfire detection cameras help spot fires before they turn into unstoppable infernos. The Alert Wildfire Camera Network, a system of over 1,000 high-definition cameras, provides live feeds that firefighters and emergency services use to track and respond to fires. Meanwhile, drones equipped with infrared sensors are now being used to scout fire-prone areas and detect hotspots that could spark into full-blown wildfires. Even firefighting strategies have evolved. Traditionally, firefighters on the ground and aerial water tankers were the main tools against wildfires. But now, specialized wildfire response teams are deploying fire-retardant gel drops, which are more effective than traditional water dumping. Additionally, new fire-resistant materials are being introduced for homes and buildings in fire-prone areas. Cities and communities are updating building codes to require ember-resistant vents, non-combustible roofing, and defensible space around properties to slow the spread of fire. California isn't just fighting fires, it's throwing billions into prevention strategies, hoping to stay one step ahead of the flames. In 2021 alone, Governor Gavin Newsom allocated $1.5 billion to wildfire mitigation efforts, with funds directed toward forest health projects, fire breaks, and community preparedness initiatives. However, despite these efforts, climate change continues to make wildfires more frequent and intense. Beyond financial losses, repeated wildfires are displacing entire communities, turning thousands into climate refugees. As fires become more frequent and destructive, thousands are being forced to leave fire-prone regions, struggling to rebuild their lives in safer, more stable areas. And one of the biggest hurdles in wildfire management? A lack of coordination between local, state, and federal agencies. When fires erupt in remote areas, delays in communication and resource deployment can make containment efforts far less effective. On top of that, limited funding and firefighter shortages push response teams to their limits, leading to burnout and reduced efficiency. And with climate change making fire behavior more unpredictable than ever, every wildfire becomes a high-stakes race against time. Looking ahead, technology is becoming a game changer in wildfire prevention. AI-driven models and satellite data are helping predict fire outbreaks, while drones and robotics are stepping in for early detection and even direct firefighting. These innovations, combined with better communication networks, could give emergency responders a critical edge. But fighting fires isn't enough. Communities need to adapt. Smarter urban planning can reduce fire risks, and stricter building codes can make homes more fire-resistant. Financial tools like wildfire bonds could help fund recovery efforts, while reviving indigenous fire management practices, like controlled burns, offers a proven way to reduce fuel buildup. A mix of tech, infrastructure upgrades, and stronger policies could help California stay ahead of wildfires and set an example for other fire-prone regions. But as fires grow more intense each year, the question now is, how much longer can this cycle continue before the damage becomes irreversible? Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.